Sumant Sinha, the Chairman and CEO of ReNew Power Ventures, joins in first up. And we have Mr. Rajnish Kumar as well, the MD of State Bank of India, to give us his views. Gentlemen, morning to both of you. Sumant, I want to start with you first. You know, the Sun Edison acquisition of Continuum has once again brought the focus back on wind energy. Are you noticing a lot of interest from foreign participants in the Indian market, in the Indian wind energy market?
Well, you know, there is some interest, I think, overall, Sonia. There are quite a few players which are, who are looking at the market, given the government, talking up the sector quite a bit, and in terms of the new targets that they set up. So, yeah, I would say that foreign players are beginning to sniff around. They are certainly looking at the market a little bit more seriously. Sun Edison, of course, has been in India for many years already. And so, they are probably a little bit more mature in their outlook on India. And so, therefore, it's no surprise that they are perhaps
okay.
Over the next 1 or 2 or 3 years, we'll also do the diligence and start looking at investing in the Indian market as we go forward.
Okay. Sumant, morning, and Mr. Rajnish Kumar, to you too. Mr. Kumar, in the first place, is this right? You all are setting aside 20,000 crores for starters for renewable energy projects?
No, renewable energy project, our commitment is to fund about 15,000 megawatt over a 5-year period, which was the MOU which was signed by our chairman. So that is our commitment, and our outlook on the renewable energy is positive, and always it comes with a rider that we are going to fund the projects which are bankable and commercially viable.
That is the point. How many of projects can be bankable and viable, Sumant Sinha? We are in a stage where even thermal projects are not being able to find buyers for their power because the power buyers are bankrupt, so to speak. Well, not quite bankrupt, but certainly running huge losses. In the immediate run, will people come in with fresh generation projects in the first place in the wind and solar space?
I think they will, Lata, simply because, the amounts that they're talking about, while they seem very large, in terms of actual generating capacity, they're not that large. I mean, for example, 100,000 megawatts of solar translates to really only about 25,000 megawatts of conventional capacity equivalent, because the plant load factors of solar and wind are around 20%. So it's not a very large amount of power itself that we're talking about. So it is eminently possible for that power to be purchased. I think the key question, however, is that the purchasers of all power in India today are the state-owned distribution companies, which are racked by political issues and are, severely constrained in terms of their financial capability. And so, therefore, as part of the next phase of the reforms, the government will definitely have to focus on looking at this very critical sector. Because, whether State Bank of India lends to us or we invest our equity or other investors come in the debt or equity, the ultimate payment is coming from these distribution companies. And if their financial health does not improve, then, that is going to constrain the quality of lending or equity investments in the entire sector. And ultimately that leads to higher costs. Those higher costs then have to be ultimately finally again recouped from the same investors. So it becomes a bit of a vicious circle. So I know that the government is working on it, and hopefully that is going to be the next phase of their reforms in this sector.
Okay. Well, that also means that 29 governments have to work. Even getting one government to work internally with a single mission is becoming difficult, with even sometimes ministries and bureaucrats moving in different directions. 29 governments is another thing altogether, Sumant. We are technological novices when it comes to power itself, and even more for renewable power. But, the government and the SCBs have been talking about solarization of agriculture. Is it possible that, you can have wind or solar plants which can sidestep the SCB and only use the grid for wheeling, dealing and directly go to the consumer? Is that happening, or even is that commercially, technically feasible?
No, it is becoming increasingly more feasible now, Lata. And I think certainly a large chunk of the new capacity addition that will come up will not be necessarily connected to the grid or dependent upon selling to the state distribution companies. In certain states, it is already viable to sell to open access and group captive customers, whether it's between the solar. Rooftop solar is becoming more viable in a number of states. So you'll start seeing some of these things happening more and more, both off-grid sales as well as open access sales of utility scale plants of wind and solar to customers that are not SEBs. So that's one way of sidestepping the problem. But the reality is going to be that over the next several years, a large bulk of the purchases are still going to be done through SEBs. And so therefore there is no way out but to resolve this problem. Now, all 29 states may not solve the problem all at once, Lata, but I think what will happen is some states will start earlier and those states will start perhaps setting the example for other states to follow. And I think you'll start seeing, maybe a more, inconsistent development of the power market in different states, depending on which ones follow the more progressive policies and which ones don't. And those states that do will find, 24/7 power, will find renewable energy sources, will find perhaps over a longer period of time cheaper power as well becoming available. And that will force other states to come into line and follow the same model. And I know that the Power Minister is definitely working on this area. So I'm pretty hopeful that we'll be able to resolve this problem as well in the next 1 or 2 years.
Just one follow-up question. In terms of the current wind energy capacity, what is it of the country? And do you think the government will be able to manage, generating 60 gigawatts of wind energy by 2022?
Yeah, today the capacity for wind is about 25,000 megawatts already. We're adding about 2,000 to 3,000 megawatts every year. And the target is really 60,000 in the next 7 years, which means an addition of about 35,000 megawatts over the next 7 years. It's about 5,000 megawatts every year. Now, the capacity does exist from an execution standpoint to set up that capacity. The question really is, will there be enough power purchase agreements that will be signed by the state governments? And that is something that we'll have to see how that evolves. The bigger issue, of course, is on the solar side, where there is, the aspect of adding 100,000 megawatts over the next 7 years, which will imply almost 15,000 megawatts every year from a situation of we're adding about 1,000 megawatts today, 1,500 megawatts today. And this 15,000 megawatts every year will have to come in a mix of grid connected and off grid connected. And so there will be a very, I think, rapid development and broad basing of the solar market as well that will happen. Okay. So it will be exciting.
Okay, exciting, interesting and challenging for the banker for sure. Mr. Rajnish Kumar, are you finding viable projects, or do you think bankers as a lot are going to increase your exposure to power, conventional or renewable, only after you see this open access? What conditions do you want to see before you increase your exposure to power?
No, before we increase or we assess any proposal, the key and the foremost question is about PPA, that who pays for it. So under Jawaharlal Nehru Solar Mission, now 12,000 megawatt, that is what NTPC would be buying. So if NTPC is the buyer, then it gives a lot of comfort to the banks. And I think that may be the way forward, where a central utility buys, and under renewal purchase obligations of the state governments, then allocation is made to various state governments. So that makes it a very bankable proposition, and one is about at what rate. So for solar to become viable, the benchmark would be around 6 rupees 50 paisa, and for wind to become viable, the benchmark should be around 550. If we compare it with a thermal power plant, and I am not talking about the plants which have been depreciated or which are old, but if we compare it with whether if we have to put a thermal plant today, the cost of power cannot be 4 rupees 50 paisa. So to support all the initiatives under renewable energy, I think the funding requirement when we reach the capacity would be around 20 to 22,000 crore. And last year, by way of cess on the coal, the collection was about 6,500 crore. So I think problem is manageable. And 15,000 megawatt of solar, whether we can put it in a year, that is definitely very challenging. Whether it is doable, just to give you an example of China, they did 5,000 megawatt in 1 quarter this year, 2015. So when there is a will, it can be done, but definitely the target is very ambitious, and from financing part, as I have mentioned, it is not something which is impossible.
So I should know if will is enough, bankability is more important, isn't it? As you said. I didn't get this arithmetic. You said for solar to become profitable, the per unit cost is 6 rupees 50 paise, for wind 5 rupees 50 paise, but thermal is breaks even at 450. Is that what you said?
The coal-based. If you put a power plant today,
then they're losers. Then why would you? Then who would buy 650, sir?
No, but you have to see it like you have commitments under WTO. You have to bring down your carbon footprint. When we are calculating the cost of the power on account of environmental issues, they cannot be completely ignored. And for the renewable energy, the best part is that there is no risk as far as the availability and price of the variables like fuel, coal or gas is concerned.
I don't know, Mr. Kumar. No, Mr. Kumar. Mr. Kumar, at the moment,
raw material side you are assured.
No. At the moment, raw material is not the issue. To some extent, coal is available. The output of Coal India is not the problem at all. In fact, in the entire core sector, that was the only thing that showed a 7% increase in output. Everything else was actually contracting. My point is, who will buy? I mean, is NTPC going to buy solar power 2 rupees more expensive than thermal power? Is that the undertaking? And who will buy from NTPC at 6 rupees 55?
No, it will require. No, it will require government support, Lata. That's what I am saying. That there is something called in solar, there is something called incentive viability gap funding. And in wind there is a generation-based incentive. There is accelerated depreciation provision which has been reintroduced in this budget as far as wind power is concerned. So there will be measures required from the government side to support the sector. It comes in what way, in what manner, that has to be thought of and has been to a large extent thought of, because there is a cess of 100 rupees per ton on the coal. So that's how you generate 6,500 crore every year. So if you are asking the question whether consumer will pay, I think it is very difficult. Whether DISCOM will pay, it is very difficult. But through this means of where some tax incentives are there is a clean National Clean Energy Fund where cess is collected from coal. So that's how the viability would be ensured. But without government support, it is not possible. If you recollect, even in Gujarat, earlier PPAs for solar were at 12 rupees. So the commitment were very high. Now at least the cost has come down, and as I said, that around 6 rupees 50 paisa, it can pay off in about, bank debt can be paid off in about 16 to 17 years.
Okay, sir, we are running out of time. Sumant, one last word from you. Will the financial issue be, will the financial issue jack the government's targets?
I don't think so, Lata. I think the government is thinking through all these issues. For example, there's talk of coming up with dollarized tariffs. There is, I think, also the fact that solar power costs are going to keep trending downwards. Conventional power costs are going to continue to keep going upwards. And at some point in the next 2-3 years, we'll find parity, full parity happening. And at that point in time, whether you add conventional, whether you add renewables, it's all going to be the same from a costing standpoint. So I don't think that this is going to spoil the party in any way. I think the government also recognizes that, the coal that they're selling is ultimately their resource. It's very easy for them to price it higher, lower, use some of that to actually subsidize renewables, and then, take a decision as to which way they want the energy of the country to be generated. So I think the gap is not that large as Mr. Kumar was saying, and I think it is something that can easily be bridged.
All right, gentlemen, we'll have to leave it at that.